Hi, everyone. Welcome to Accelerating Revenue Monthly Close, from manual struggle to automated confidence. I'm Amber Cole. I head up marketing at RecVue, and today I get the privilege of hosting a conversation that's near and dear to every finance team's heart, the monthly close. If you've ever stared at day 7 of close thinking, why are we still reconciling this manually? You're in the right place. I'm joined by Edita Sani, our Senior Director of Revenue Solutions. Edita shapes our product strategy and thought leadership around ASC 606 and IFRS 15 compliance, close automation, and audit readiness for complex enterprise environments. A former CPA, she's led global accounting teams, implemented ERP and revenue recognition systems, and strengthened SOC 404 controls, and built scalable close processes in both high growth and public company settings. I had the chance to spend some time with Edita recently, and I learned two things. She's incredibly disciplined about process design, and she has a Bernedoodle named Stella. So she understands unpredictability in both systems and living beings. Today, we're going to walk through why close cycles are getting harder, where automation meaningfully reduces risk and effort, what AI is actually useful for in finance, and how to quantify the ROI in language your CFO and audit committee care about. A few quick logistics before we get underway. We're in a Zoom webinar today. We have a Q&A module at the bottom of your screen. Definitely encourage everyone to add questions as we go. We'll track them and we'll have a live Q&A at the end. For those who stay through the session, excuse me, we'll also share a revenue close acceleration checklist that you'll be able to download and use internally to benchmark your current process. Edita, before we jump into the slides, you've run close in high growth and public company environments. When you think about the last 5 years, what has fundamentally changed about the pressure on revenue teams today?
Good question, Amber. And hello, everybody. It's nice to meet all of you here in this environment. The question is old. The question always exists. But I would rephrase it. Everybody thinks, what can I change? Yes. So from the perspective of any team or any leader who wants to impact the close, nothing changes because we always want to be better. We always want to be faster. And what really stays constant is this idea of us making things differently, doing things differently, and having better processes around this. The only thing which changes, our management, our bosses want to have results faster and faster to make more educated decisions, what our business can look like tomorrow, how we should move towards our customers, how can we impact our go-to-market methodology. Now, we can start really talking about the topic which is in front of us. The struggles which we are going through are not foreign to people who are here in this meeting. Based on the audience who participates here, I can see that there are a variety of professionals who definitely will be interested in revenue closes, but the topic of today's discussion can be easily translated into other close areas. Whether this is overall corporate close or whether this is a close of accounts payable, fixed assets, make it your own. Make analogies to different accounting areas and think creatively of what we will be discussing here. So starting from the question which we may want to pause in front of ourselves, how long does our close take? And are we looking at our timing of the close from the perspective of what's put in our Excel spreadsheet? It's day 1 through day 5, Monday to Friday. Or are we thinking about this in real terms? How long does it really take? to close books? Is it from 9 to 5, or is it from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., or even adding weekends? So let's be honest in front of ourselves and think about what it takes. How long does it take to complete our closes? And this timing of the close is impacted by several challenges which we have in front of us. And it's not only related to 606. Take into considerations all the standards, but standard is already in existence for a couple of years, for more than a couple of years, and everybody already adjusted the behaviors and the mindset to this new requirement. So in reality, it's operational challenge which is in front of us. Where the data come from? Is it from different systems which are not integrated? Does the data reside in several spreadsheets which are not talking to each other, and we need to compile them into one spreadsheet, and through the best, once again, through almighty Excel spreadsheets, the pivoting data, looking up data, and making it in one table, which then we can process. And from here, we will get into several manual reconciliations. The reconciliation may be between different spreadsheets, between systems, and this adds time to the overall timing. The data is not always perfect, so we will always find some exceptions in our reconciliation processes. Let's take the close from the timing perspective. I took here as an example 10-day close, but think about this as a 100% of the activities which we need to complete during the close, which are leading to generation of the financial statements. So the beginning, so where it starts from data gathering, making sure that everybody who participates, who creates the data, provides this data to revenue team. Revenue team checks the completeness. Revenue team checks whether the data received is the final one, or are there any changes expected. Then we are getting into revenue calculations, and depending on how many spreadsheets we need to go through, it may take 3 to 4 days, depending on all the complexities. I remember that in my last company, we were creating spreadsheets for each and every transaction, complex transaction, which required complex allocations, complex identification of POBs with variable considerations, and then trying to figure out what SSP should be used, what's the period of services. So we were compiling the checklists, then we were taking the information, allocated information from the checklist to revenue waterfall, and then applying all the formulas to make sure that the specific deliverable was recognized at specific point in time, or over time, starting on the proper date. So all of this checklist needed to be reconciled to the main waterfall. The main waterfall needed to be reconciled back to the CRM, where the information was coming and feeding our checklists. Then on top of this, our waterfall was not connected to the ERP, where all the invoices were residing, and we needed to combine the invoices with the waterfall to come up with the unbilled AR, deferred revenue. So plenty of reconciliations, and I bet that every revenue professional is facing. But like I said, these reconciliations exist in every area of the financial statements. So as soon as this waterfall is done and we have the final waterfall ready to be booked, we need to prepare the journal entries and reviews. Hopefully, reconciliation and preparation of JE and their reviews may be somehow combined in the same time frame, and this may be more seamless. Hopefully, it's not stuck one upon another. at the end of the day, we do need to make sure that we have proper documentations for all the decisions which we made. And hopefully, we are not creating additional documentation for this. Hopefully, it can be included in the spreadsheets where we perform our revenue calculations. I did mention that my team was preparing checklist for specific deals, which was allowing us to document the decisions. But because we were always rushing to complete the waterfall, the documentation of these decisions was coming really at the end. And this was the vicious cycle for us because we are done with the close, yet we still need to go back to the spreadsheets and make sure that we close the loops on putting all the comments, adding all the approvals, and making sure that at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, we have all the necessary evidence, which at some point in time will need to be presented to auditors. So this is the close in the nutshell. And if we are looking at the time which it takes to prepare the data which can be presented in the financial statements, you will notice that around 60–70% of this time is really data gathering, manual reconciliations, and manual calculations. Hopefully, we have the information right first time and we do not need to redo them because we will find out something else related to the close on day 3 or day 4.
This is a lot here. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. And I'm referring back to the original question that we asked our audience today is to basically classify how long their closes take. I wonder how many people are counting the extra hours after they go home or the extra hours over weekends before and after. And the point here, the call out of 60–70% is data gathering reconciliation. Um, why is so much of this process still manual, do you think?
Uh, I think that everybody has this type of challenge in their environment unless they are really closing very fast within 2–3 days. But in general, the data is coming from different teams. The systems or the spreadsheets or the protocols for documentation of the events which are happening in specific teams are not aligned. So the information which revenue team is receiving is in different format, is kind of scattered between different documents, and revenue team may need to compile it in the document which can be used by them. The definitions of the events may not be aligned. Yes, revenue team is used to the language which is included in ASC 606 and usually applies this when we are communicating with other teams. We are talking about POBs, we are talking about deliveries, acceptance, etc., where sales operations teams may be talking about provisioning, about compiling the information or receiving information from customers' portals. So we need to make sure that we understand what other business counterparts are talking and translating this into our needs. So it goes back to the definitions. It goes back whether we are receiving the information in the format we need. First of all, it's whether this information exists in the first place, because a lot of times is that revenue team needs to derive information based on a couple of documents, make some additional calculations. It may not be readily available.
Makes sense. Disparate systems, nothing's talking to each other. The spreadsheets become our crutches, right? And in any normal human world, crutches start to cause pain over time. So we're seeing this obviously metaphorically with dependencies on spreadsheets. So thank you. Great points.
Yeah, so everybody can after this short discussion can place themselves in these buckets. Honestly, working as an auditor and afterwards as a lead of revenue teams, I can say that I was in all of these buckets. I have seen very efficient closes during my audit days. But honestly, when I started working actually as a practitioner, as a business person and leading the teams, I was most probably in the yellow and red zone. Uh, it happened very often that I was starting in the red zone and going and trying to improve all the processes to come to better spot. So with these things which we covered here, we can move how we can improve our processes. And everybody thinks about automation. And in these days, honestly, everybody asks what AI can do for us. I think when AI started, everybody was like, okay, it's not coming so fast, it will be okay. But everybody realized that it's coming faster at us than we thought. And at this point in time, it's a reality, it's a need, and it's the real opportunity for all the teams to incorporate this technology in the accounting processes. I like to think about automation first because honestly, AI will not work as we want it to work if we will not create the environment for it. And what I mean by this, we do not have the systems which are talking to each other, or at least we can connect these systems to the AI engine. Nothing exists on its own. The silos do not work for AI. AI needs to have access to all the systems and documents which we need uh, to draw conclusions or on, to make the decisions related to the numbers, related to, especially in the estimation processes in 606. Everybody here knows that 606 doesn't give us precise prescriptions what we should be doing, gives the indication where we should be taking it. And a lot of policies are built by management and they need to be in the framework of 606 and comply with the specific requirements. But honestly, the policy on a company level may differ, and all of this resides in the company-owned systems, company-owned documentation, and needs to be supported by evidence for all the deals which are being closed. That's why I'm saying that when we come to the automation and AI, it's very important to have the data prepared for it. I call it the first pillar for the automation, to understand how many systems or how many sources we have that provide the information relevant to revenue close, necessary for the revenue close. And I'm thinking here about the CRM. I'm thinking here about the provisioning systems where we are getting information about completed deliveries or the service start dates, which we need to take into consideration for revenue waterfalls. I'm referring to revenue waterfall because I used to work constantly in the businesses which had mixed revenue modules at a point in time, over time. That's why I'm using reference to the waterfall, because only the waterfall was allowing me to present all the transactions in the way I needed to see it over a period of time. So the data sources are very important. And before the automation, it may come from different places. And hopefully the automation which we think about will allow to put all the necessary information in one place, whether this is through integrations, whether this is through data uploads, or whether this is just the access point and the system can take the information from. The next step from organizing our data is finally leading to revenue recognition. And whether we think about the technical standard, technical accounting standard, or whether we are talking about the operations, we need to make sure that the information which we are using, which relates to our contract, is proper, that it is that it really represents the document which we have signed with the customer. A lot of times it started for me that I needed to input the information manually. The team needed to review them back and forth, whether all the details are properly reflected in the spreadsheets, that we are not missing anything. And in the complex arrangements, it's pretty easy to make a mistake. That's why the system which has ability to read contracts and translate the contract details into the systematic layout, systematic flow is very neat to have, because with these capabilities we can ensure consistency in application of accounting rules, which we will put there. Any system needs to be fed with some type of rules. Even AI needs to have the background of the ground rules, how we want the AI to behave, how we want AI to read every specific case, because AI will not know what we are expecting it to do. We need to teach it. We need to create all the connectors. We need to potentially create all the skills that are required for AI to process the information the way we wanted it. And at the end of the day, when we automate these processes, of course, in the situation of public companies, but even for private companies, it's important to have the proper audit trail. Yes, at the end of the day, this information will be seen by somebody else, will need to be certified, will need to be opined on that everything is in accordance with US GAAP, that it is in accordance with IFRS, etc., any local regulations which companies may need to comply with. So the standard case is definitely it's most probably easy to cover. The slide says about the contract modifications, multi-element arrangement, as well as usage-based. These are the expected standard themes which need to be handled by automation. Variable consideration is more company-specific. So all of these things in this bucket need to be carefully reviewed, and whether this is the automation platform or whether this is the AI, those most probably will take a little bit more time to get to the proper results. And the final thing, when we are fine with the data, we know that our revenue is properly processed by the systems which we have. The reconciliation should be really a straightforward exercise, knowing that the systems are connected, that the data is accessible, easily accessible by our automation tool. The reconciliation should look very different. In manual world, we would need to review each and every transaction. We would need to create the VLOOKUP tables and reverse VLOOKUP to make sure that information is complete. While with automation, it is a huge benefit, as you could see, as the expected benefit is just immense here. If we can focus really on the exceptions rather than reviewing of the whole population, this is where we want to be. And on top of this, we want a system to show us precisely these exceptions, and with the AI capabilities, some preliminary indication what the exception may relate to.
I just wanted to add a couple of comments here because we're really getting into the meat and potatoes of our AI underbelly. And while all three of these pillars are powerful, this one, the third one is specifically heavy, right? Because you go from a completely manual process, and to use the word control, you have complete control over your spreadsheets, to trusting that the AI is going to surface and create just a review period of view of 5 to 10% of those anomalies. So how did you as a practitioner come to trust the robot, as they say?
That's a good question. I think trust comes with experience. During the audit times, everybody says trust but verify. Exactly the same is happening here. How did we trust Excel spreadsheet? Yes, so when it is 10 lines, it's easy to review. But if you have 10,000 lines, which I experienced in my previous engagement, it's like, how do you know that everything in this spreadsheet was properly processed, that all the formulas which are applied to all of these 10,000 lines are adequate? And let's be honest, it's not the same formula every time. There are
Hmm.
exceptions that when these formulas need to be changed. Let's assume we have 70% of standard transactions, and these formulas will be the same. But there will be here we have the remaining portion of the transactions, the 30%, where the formulas will need to be modified. We need to change them because of some modification. We need to change them because the revenue will not start on the contractually stated service date, but it requires acceptance, or it requires some additional information, or dealing with uncertainties. And when these uncertainties are resolved, only then we can start recognizing revenue. And here again, the judgment whether the revenue can be recognized at 100%, or do we need to put some type of constraint. All of these things which I just mentioned may be applied to 30%. And how do I know that I copied proper line? Should I be taking and copy formulas from the line above, or should I be really looking for some standard deal because now I'm dealing with standard deal and need to process this? So this comes with the experience. This comes with your maturity and ability to distinguish between, I maybe differently, your ability to apply risk assessment to what you are dealing with. The same with AI. There will be some cases which will be repetitive, and the situations when AI can use repetitive formulas and engine to process transactions, to draw the conclusions, to come up with some type of analytics, it would be easy. But the moment we will introduce a new thing, new uncertainty, new complexity, this is the time when we need to come in place, when human needs to come and start working harder, and see whether this new case will be repetitive or whether this is one in a million, and that's why it requires attention. So AI should not scare us, because honestly, looking through the development of all the technologies, we were always facing challenges, and the question, can I trust it? This is not different. It's faster.
Agreed. Agreed. Good points. Thank you.
So AI, as we are looking at RecVue products, we implemented some functionalities which allow customers to conduct the detection of different exceptions. And we have automated systems which are allowing us identify this and come up with solutions to those exceptions. Our systems have predictive variance analysis and help with preparation of audit documentation. All of these changes which we want to implement in our systems, in our processes, always takes time, but at the same time they cost us, and we need to come up with the business case for our management to introduce, to implement these changes. So let's think about the business case here, how we can create it, and what elements should be taken into consideration. The first question always is, how much will it cost me? But I think this is very basic question. We really need to think from the perspective of how much I can save, because the savings are really the real translations into financial benefits. The first couple of things which immediately comes to place: will I be able to scale my headcount? How much faster will I create? Will I provide the deliverables for management to make business decisions? But honestly, all of this are stemming from the fact how many errors I can prevent, how much cleaner my results will be first time I will see them complete, and how many more corrections I would need to go through. So let's think from the perspective that automation allows us to apply rules consistently. There is much less human interventions and missing of the formula, application of the formula. Yes, am I dealing with the standard case? Am I dealing with the non-standard transaction, which requires different set of rules? So this is where automation comes very handy. And honestly, all teams, when we are scaling, I was always excited to see 70% of the transactions will be automated. I don't need to worry about this and really need to focus on this 30%, which require manual spreadsheets, which require more discussions with other teams and making sure that all elements are included there. So this is the biggest win, and this trickles into the headcount occupation. It trickles into the speed of our closes. And at the same time, let's be honest, it does impact our ability to provide right documentation for our auditors, because the audit burden, the financial burden of the audit engagement is pretty significant for a lot of companies. I know that in our negotiations with auditors, the ratio of errors always takes place in the discussions. Auditors are saying we need to review twice or three times your schedules because we are finding inconsistencies, we are finding errors which company needs to correct, and we need to re-review them. So all the negotiations with audit fees may come to the place saying that you auditors, whoever is your auditor, will be reviewing our spreadsheets only once or maybe twice, which is not unusual. Yes, any time or any additional iteration of the report may need to go into overage negotiations. And with this type of approach to audit fees, in my last company, we gained, we managed to decrease our fees significantly. Did we have overages? I think we did something, but it wasn't to the extent that we suddenly were at the place of fees which we had in prior years. We paid a little bit extra, but not as much as in prior years. So these are tangible things which every company should be able to calculate based on their scenarios. But there is more to this. As I think, as a team leader, I always think about work-life balance for my team members, and making sure that everybody who has the tribal knowledge of data processing and historical information about multi-year transactions, multi-year contracts, stays with me and continues doing the job as they used to do. It's not that they are not good at it. It's simply they are overwhelmed. They are tired when they are dealing with zillion of spreadsheets. And in situations when they have the system available to them or additional tool like AI to help them with this type of work, somebody who will show them here is the exception, it's much easier, because sometimes even in the manual world, sometimes an exception may be a hallucination simply because we didn't tweak the formula well enough to avoid some discrepancies. And very often when we see the exceptions, we have this aha moment, something went wrong, but it's not really wrong. We missed to change the formula for that. So people are tired, I think, and automation helps with that.
It does. It really does. I really like these two slides, obviously bringing forward value, ROI on the first slide, quantifiable, and then the strategic benefits here. Um, Something I think that a lot of teams don't think about, at least right away, and we've seen this countless times in conversations with folks, is is measuring the opportunity cost of not doing anything, of staying static and staying in the weeds of manual processes and spreadsheets. One of the things that we will be able to offer at the end of the show, at the end of the session today, is a reminder to reach out to us, and we can help you look at that opportunity cost. Like, what is the actual cost of a 10-day close that teams aren't thinking about, right? Um, that said, these two slides specifically have created a lot of interest. We're seeing questions come in, and I just want to remind everybody, keep them coming. We're going to answer them at the end with Q&A. So thank you, and we'll keep moving right along here.
Yeah. So whenever you are approaching a transformation, take it as a phased approach. Make sure that you address, first of all, the data. Um, uh, at my last employment before RecVue, my controller asked me, can we start automation right away? And my answer was no, because we need to clean up the data, because our CRM didn't have enough information for revenue processing. The CRM had very basic identification of performance obligations, which needed to be more detailed in our revenue waterfall. Our CRM had simply the name of the product which we were delivering, but within the product we had different components which required different revenue recognition rules. So no, we were not able to automate immediately. We needed to make sure that our upstream processes are aligned with the policies and procedures required for the revenue recognition. When your data is pristine, when you have the integrity of the information between the different systems, then focus on automation of introducing the automation and and work on reconciliation of the data. And when this is ensured and you are satisfied, think about how to implement AI. In this era, the AI, the step 2 and step 3 can be combined. It depends on your technology stack, which the company is running on, and whether you are at a place that you can start thinking about AI agents from the get-go. There are a lot of situations that AI agents can be introduced almost immediately, but for some more meaningful analysis, this may require more mature system integrations and data flow, or simply access to data by the AI agents.
I think that's a great way to lay it out. I think um, what we've heard a lot too is, how do you tackle transformation projects like this? And one of the things that's important to take away is, you don't have to boil the ocean. And a phased approach does exactly that. So there will be quick wins, there will be next wins, and then future looking milestones, right? Okay. If you're all listening and thinking, this sounds great, but my environment is way too complex, you are not alone. RecVue handles this constantly, and the one thing that we can rest assured with is, complexity is constant. It's always constant. The question is whether it's managed manually or orchestrated intentionally. So that's not to sound salesy. It's just to highlight our experience in this space and the finesse in which we tailor to your business. We do have a saying that keeps coming up, and it's automation without control is risky. But control without automation is slow, and we sit at the harmonious middle of all of that. So, in closing, just want to underscore that the technology really does exist today to automate what Edita said, 50 to 70% of manual close work. It exists today. The ROI is measurable. We touched on that. And the starting point is not ripping and replacing. It's just gaining control of your data foundation. That is the starting point. For those that want something practical, we're going to share a revenue close acceleration checklist, as mentioned earlier. It's a simple diagnostic you can use with your team to assess where time and risk are hiding inside your processes today. You'll also get a link in our follow-ups to a 5-minute close maturity self-assessment and the option for, drumroll please, a complimentary process review. This is Edita's time and energy and brain power here, where reach out to us, schedule some time. We'll do a quick assessment over the phone, and then we'll get into a full process review should the meeting results return the necessary steps forward. Edita, thank you for bringing a practitioner's
Thank you so much.
lens to this. Great covering today. And thank you to everyone who joined us as well. So, couple of questions rolling in, and we'll start taking those now.
Excellent. So I'm flipping over here, not sharing screen anymore, and going to get through a couple of these questions that came in. One of them was it came in right before we covered it with the phased approach, but one of them was, where do we start, and how do I not take on too much? It can be very overwhelming. We've all experienced project transformations in that space. So maybe just add a little bit more color there, Edita. We did cover it, but this one popped in, and I think it's worth underscoring.
Yeah, that's always everybody asks where to start. The easiest way, most probably, is to start preparing the map, what we are doing right now, and the timeline when the events are happening. The events are like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this at a specific time? And when the data is available. When we have the outline of all the processes and where the information is coming from, then the thinking process usually occurs. Why this is the timing? Can the data be received earlier? And can some of the events happen earlier? My experience with this was that instead of me making assumption that data can be prepared earlier, was to go to the person who was responsible for data preparation and understanding the processes on their side. Can this be prepared earlier? Because very often I hear from teams who are delivering the data for the revenue close, they were telling, nobody told us to deliver this earlier, or nobody explained the importance of our data. So having everybody informed and creating the deadlines, not only for us, but deadlines for the external people, is very important. This is most probably the low hanging fruit, which we can benefit from. And honestly, introducing this discipline for other teams helps achieve at least 20-30% efficiency. And then, of course, we can go into more complex areas, like understanding why we are creating 10 different entries related to one area. Can it be consolidated in one? When I started working at Logitech, the controller of Logitech said, okay, let's just download all the journal entries, understand their timing and why there are so many. Because yes, there were a lot of journal entries, so we all started consolidating them. Can this be pulled in one journal entry versus 10 different, why it's coming from different people rather than one person taking care of it. So really better organizing and focusing efforts of our teams. This is the first step. And then, of course, when it comes to the system complexities, this goes to assessing the automation needs. But first step is like understand your processes very well.
Yep, makes total sense. Type A personalities here, organizing and orchestrating, and we get very excited about that. So it helps chip away, little baby steps at a time.
Yeah.
Don't boil the ocean. Re-emphasizing that. This next question is really good. It's one that I typically ask if I'm in an environment like this or a panel or even an event atmosphere. But um, without holding many people's feet to the fire, I'll preface with what are some mistakes that you've seen? I think your POV is super valuable here, but what are some of the mistakes that you've seen along the way related to implementing automation, heavy automation or AI? This is the part where everyone kind of leans in a little bit. So anything you can share?
Yeah, so I will say something which is very general, but it's very true. It's misalignment between the expectations between management and people who are working on automation or implementation of any AI features or tools at this point in time. There is always this expectation that we can do a lot and fast. So these two do not go together. We cannot do a lot and fast. Yes, we need to choose, we need to strike good balance between these two elements. And just recently, I had a discussion with with a customer of RecVue where they posed the question: Is it better to think about the centralized and overhaul analysis of system and implement the AI-driven overall central platform, or should we think about this differently? So if you want to implement AI everywhere with good controls, data governance, it will turn into lengthy process. So yes, we will get there, but it will not be fast. So again, we need to be conscious about our what's more important, the precision or the timing of everything. The other approach to it may be work on one process and have different AI tools in different systems or different automations for different processes, and then figure out the reconciliation. Because the perception that automation will happen fast is very misleading, I want to say. All the timelines are usually thrown away, and we will get dissatisfied not only management but people working on this initiatives, because everybody is putting their foot forward and trying to get the best outcomes. So a really control of the goals, control of what can be done, and timelines is very important. And taking on too much in every automation is not really the key to success, unless we have the resources which can be properly allocated, which is usually a constraint in any process. The same people are taking care of different improvements. So again, it adds up to everybody's workload and allocation of resources. I think it's the biggest thing in any improvement process.
Yeah, that checks out for me, especially with different functions within this type of a project scope where you've got the strategic layer and they see the pie in the sky, they see the vision of, and then you have the operators who are actual practitioners and who are in the weeds day in, day out. Everybody wants that to be resolved quickly, right? The key point that you mentioned is put the work in to get there, and then everyone's time will accelerate once those pieces are in place. So the work required and the time required is in for scoping and requirements and understanding timing, but also the details that are required that will take up a lot of time to get you to the place where you're everything's moving faster. Um, that's really great. We had a comment here from Deepak. Because of AI, everything is centralized. It's going around the globe. Is that process will be accurate? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hesitation in the accounting and finance community for sure, because I think we as professionals are perfectionists. We want to get things right first time,
Yeah.
potentially, yes.
Yeah.
So it's always the struggle to make sure that actually the things are right. So this goes back what I just said. I don't think everything can be centralized immediately because let's be honest, there are so many tools right now, and we are still learning about all of these tools and how these tools are working together. Just to understand what a given tool is offering us, yes, I will just mention, I don't know if I can mention any names here, yes, because this is not a marketing campaign for anybody else, but the thing is, yes, we all know, I will use the main names, but I don't know if I should, but everybody is coming up with additional functionalities. We have the chats, we have the codes, we have co-work, we have the data extraction, which is using just Gen AI without agentic AI. I think at this point in time, very good tool to implement is based on the Gen AI. Is all our automations, all three-way matches can be perfectly replaced and will be much faster using the AI engines versus the regular automations, SaaS automations or platforms which require all the necessary integrations. Why it's easier and faster? Because the semantic layer in AI is more conversational and can include more information, uh, which is descriptive. And of course, it may not be right first time, but it has higher level of success just by the virtue of the technology which AI is allowing us to use. So we can create several reference points versus in a legacy automation way. We are limited by the number of descriptive items, events which we can create and add in the system. AI, the potential is much bigger, and this is where we should start. And we should not be afraid to start experimenting on our own. I'm creating different skills, and it became a fun for me because I can change my algorithm much faster. Yes, so the satisfaction is coming faster rather than grinding through the calculations in the Excel spreadsheets, or coding something or configuring something in the system and checking the outcomes. AI gives the response faster. It doesn't need to be right. I'm not saying that whatever AI does is right, and Deepak, you are right. The level of review still needs to be performed by us. And luckily for us, I hope with this thing, we still have our job security here. The question is really, what's the next generation of people, of new people who will be coming into the accounting profession? What's the entry level? The entry level will be very different, on very different level. So this is where it comes to experienced professionals to help bring new people into this industry, because the need for the evaluation, for review and assessment of the adequacy of the AI outcome still will be necessary.
Yeah. I agree. It's fun to think about what's coming next and for the next generation of brains that will be processing it, especially at the rate at which it's growing and learning and how quickly it gets smarter and smarter. Thank you, Edita. We are at time. We were able to catch a few questions here. I love that. For those who've attended today, look for follow-ups from us. We're going to have some checklists and opportunities to continue the discussion. And Edita works that well and that close with existing customers, so we're happy to take some feedback and some details and some discovery work and create a scenario that seems approachable for you. Thank you. Thank you everyone for
Thank
joining.
you so much.
See you next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.